free speech.
A city's on fire over ICE. Burning passion led to this resident being escorted out by police.
A heated debate in Leavenworth, Kansas continuing tonight as Corecivic plans to turn its now closed Leavenworth Detention Center into a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention Center.
He says he came to Dilley on Saturday to visit clients. When he was in the waiting room, he says guards ordered him and everyone in there to get out. He says he was overwhelmed by what he saw and heard.
Can you hear that?
Homeland Security is planning to spend nearly $40 billion on new immigration detention centers.
The government is now looking at purchasing warehouses like the ones designed for clients like Amazon and retrofitting them to serve as detention facilities for immigrants before they're deported. That is according to a
protesters across North Carolina are speaking out, trying to put a stop to the construction of an ICE detention facility in eastern North Carolina.
And the spotlight has remained on the nation's capital tonight as discussions around the Department of Homeland Security persist. Democratic leaders have continued to push for guardrails for immigration enforcement after federal officers killed 2 American citizens in Minnesota last month.
Protests are continuing outside the Newark ICE jail known as Delaney Hall, where hundreds of detained immigrants have been on a hunger and labor strike for a week, demanding their immediate release.
Because of this lack of transparency, we have no idea what's going on and when they're slated to open.
GEO Group previously lost federal contracts to house detainees at this site in Winton in 2021 after reports of safety issues.
I was there just for 9 months.
That was enough time for former correctional officer Trayton Latimer to say he can't take it anymore.
Corecivic needs more officers, like flat out.
Latimer says understaffing not only puts officers at risk, but delayed medical care to inmates.
Last year, we told you about a lawsuit alleging inhumane conditions inside the facility. Families claimed the water and food made them sick and said the medical care is subpar. Attorneys for those detained say that hasn't changed. We did reach out to the Department of Homeland Security on Saturday and followed up today. We asked them about the protests as well as the allegations of inhumane conditions. We have yet to hear back.
So, you know, when I go through this stuff, it brings back a lot of memories. This guy here, he was an officer from Leavenworth that went to Oklahoma to work to help him out. He was stabbed in his back and died. And they said, I talked to a young lady, and she said he had asthma, as he was dying, he was reaching in his pocket because I don't think he could associate the fact of what was going on. And he was thinking he was having an asthma attack, you know, because he's bleeding out. I don't know, man. You tell me where you want to start. You can look through any of this. This is just some Corecivic facts that I put together. I needed to put, somebody asked me to do that, so I did it. This is what they paid in property tax back to '97. Here's the Department of Justice audit from 2017.
To compensate for the understaffing, Leavenworth managers closed numerous posts that the contractor, a company called Corecivic, had identified as necessary to ensure the safety.
I just wouldn't wish this on anyone. It's just a long road to recovery.
Marcia was attacked while working at the former Leavenworth Detention Center in 2021.
Marcia Levering, United States Army veteran of 7 years, served a tour in Iraq. I trained her a few days when she was in during the cycle of training.
They want to keep as much inside the walls as they can, right? You sign what are those things called? Non-disclosure. Yeah, you sign those when you start work there, right? So even though I was stabbed, I couldn't call up meeting and go, hey, guess what just happened? Now, when Marcia Levering got attacked, there was so much chaos with ambulances coming and stuff. Media picks up on it, right?
And because of short staffing,
I mean, we were so short-staffed. I mean, it was unreal.
They were running at least 50% short on staff that day. They had a girl over there that hadn't been through training. She couldn't carry spray. So short-staffed, they still stick her on the floor. A guy running control accidentally opened a door. Inmate came out. He threw hot water in Levering's face, and he started to stab and beat her to near death.
She uses a cane to walk now.
I was stabbed 4 times. Once in my right ear, hence the paralysis. Once in my right arm, and twice in my abdomen.
She has had 16 surgeries to date. She's permanently disabled. She recently has had to sell some furniture to pay her utilities. And when I spoke to her a month or two ago, she thought her only option was going to be to go and live in a homeless shelter. If they would do an employee like that, a veteran like that, then what do you think they think about the detainees, right?
I just needed a job. I didn't care where. And what I realized was, and I didn't realize it at the time, because I was surprised they hired me. I didn't have any, I was 50 years old. I had never worked any kind of, been a bouncer at a bar, right? That was it. That don't count. Well, I guess it did. There's 2 qualifications to work for Corecivic. And if you pass these 2, you're going to get the job. You gotta pass the background check. And you had to be breathing. So if you're breathing and you pass that background check, you know, everybody, and I agree, it's funny. It's just the truth. And to be honest, I didn't even know there was for-profit prison, right? And then when you think about for-profit prison, you don't think it's a real prison, right? You think, oh man, it's not a real prison. Well, yeah, it is. We had capital murderers, rapists, every crime, federal crime you can think of, right? From the most minor to the most extreme. So I watched Dylan Reed die. We were to do 24 watch tours a day per pod. And Dylan Reed was an inmate. He was 29 years old. He was very easy to house. By that, I mean, he was funnier than hell. He was a drug. He'd tell you he had a drug problem. He'd tell you.
The online videos emphasize care and compassion.
80% of the people incarcerated have some drug-related issues going on. One day, they're going to get out. So why not try to treat them? Why not try to help them?
Corecivic says it understands the prisoners who come into the system addicted.
We're going to teach you something different.
But on this day, on Thanksgiving Day 2018, at 5:07, the call came out, and I was on code team, so I went down there. And when I got there, and the door opened, Dylan was on the floor. They had already started CPR. I went over, and I started in the rotation. CPR is very difficult to do. It's not like you see on TV, right? It's exhausting. I didn't know. I'd never done it before. I never watched anybody die. You literally watch a person change color in front of you, and that sucks. Yeah, I didn't know that shit runs out of their mouth. I didn't know their eyes could be open. Again, it's not the movies. We ended up doing CPR on Dylan for a long time. Ambulance got there. They took him out. You knew he was, dead. You knew he wasn't going to make it. He died at the hospital, and that's another thing. Corecivic tells you in training, nobody dies inside the prison. I thought, what does that mean? What do you mean nobody dies? And it doesn't look as bad if they die at the hospital, does it? Think about that. It took me a long time to figure it out. The officer that had watched Dylan that day, or was in charge, had done 5 watch tours at that point. He should have done 22. Basically, he wasn't watching his. And so, with that being said, does Dylan own a part of that death? Yeah, he does. But does Corecivic own just as much of it? Absolutely.
And that weighed heavy on me. And so I started this for Dylan Reed, but then as there's others, the young man that I cut down that had hung himself and again did CPR and was unsuccessful. I think when you see that, and these are preventable, I carry guilt for being a part of the system.
I carry guilt for not being able to save Dylan Reed's life. I feel like it's our fault. That's what our job was, right? Security. Even though I wasn't directly security over him that day, when somebody dies in the facility, it's all of us, right? Yeah, I don't care about having my head split open. That was just one day, right? I'd give anything to have Dylan Reed back here to be with his family. But it won't happen.
The fight is over this facility. Will it or will it not become a federal ICE detention center? Well, time will only tell.
Since we are a town of prisons, we know what a good prison looks like and how it's operated. And we have concerns about how this last one, how Corecivic was operated in the past prior to its closing.
And trust me, people, the critics of me, because I get attacked a lot because I'm outspoken, and we've been successful in the media campaign and different things. And so some like to attack me and say, well, you was a shitty officer and all that. And okay, you're not going to hurt my feelings by saying I was a shitty officer. Look, it's not like it's not like I set out to I went there going, man, I'm going to be the best officer. I went there because I needed a job, right? I had a job. So you can assault me, you can come at me. All I know is right from wrong. What's going on in Corecivic is wrong. Then I've been asked to speak at the in front of the commission, and I believe I'll be the first one to speak tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm just making a few notes to reference some highlights. 3 minutes ain't long. It seems like a long time, but it goes quick. So we'll see. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see what happens, what's next, right?
But can you morally make that decision? No more Dylan Reeves laying on that cold floor dying while somebody like me has to hold that kid and work on him. No more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Should we please not clap and boo? Please have quiet in here so that we can hear everybody. I want to be able to hear everybody.